I never thought a Christmas party could break me like that. Not emotionally, not mentally. But the events of December 23rd, 2021 changed every definition I ever had of safety, holidays, and friends. It all started simple, not dramatic, not spooky, just normal. I had just finished a brutal semester at the University of Louisville, online classes, part-time job at a cafe, and anxiety that never left. By the time Christmas rolled around, I was drained. So when winter break hit, I told myself, screw it, we deserve one night where nothing hurts. That's why I decided to host a small Christmas gathering at my house in Lexington, Kentucky. Not a wild party, just close friends, ugly sweaters, cheap drinks, and Christmas playlists. I wanted warmth, nostalgia, normalcy. By 7 p.m., the place came to life. The living room glowed with dim lights and a Christmas tree decorated with ornaments I bought at Dollar General. Cinnamon candles, sugar cookies, cheesy stockings. Everything felt sentimental in that I'm tired but trying sort of way. Everyone wore goofy sweaters. Someone brought reindeer antlers. Someone else brought a karaoke mic. For once in 2021, people sounded happy. I poured eggnog into a plastic cup and sank into the couch, feeling like I could finally breathe. My friend Riley yelled over the music, "Bro, you nailed it. This place looks like a Hallmark movie." I laughed. Hallmark movies don't have cheap Walmart tablecloths held by tape. But it counts, man. He grinned and high-fived me. The mood was perfect, better than perfect. That's why their faces fell when the doorbell rang. I yelled from the kitchen, "Someone get that." A second later, Lena peeked her head in. "Hey, there's some dude at the door." I frowned. "What dude?" "I don't know, never seen him. He's got a gift bag and he's just standing there." I walked to the front and froze. A man stood at the doorway, late 30s, faded brown sweater, rugged beard, eyes too intense for a holiday party. He smiled a little too wide. "Evening. Heard there was a Christmas party here." My brain scrambled. He didn't look homeless or drunk, just out of place. "Sorry," I said carefully. "This is kinda a private event. Just friends." He stepped inside like I hadn't spoken. "It's the holidays. Ain't right to turn people away." I instinctively glanced at Riley, who had walked over behind me. "Dude," Riley said sharply, "you need to bounce. We don't know you." The man stared at him without blinking. "It's Christmas," he repeated. "People open doors on Christmas." Something in his voice made everyone go silent. I swallowed. "Man, you need to leave. Please don't make this weird." His smile never dropped, but it changed, stretched into something forced, unnatural. "No need for trouble," he muttered. "Just wanted to spread a little cheer." He walked out, but before stepping off the porch, he looked back over his shoulder and held his stare on me. That stare burned. I locked the door immediately. People tried to laugh it off. But the warmth was gone, replaced with anxiety we pretended didn't exist. 30 minutes later, most people returned to dancing, but that vigilance never left the room. Every time someone walked near a window, others tracked them nervously. I went to grab napkins from the hallway closet. When I came back to the living room, I froze mid-step. The man was standing in the yard, just past the Christmas lights, where the shadows started, watching the house. My breath evaporated in my throat. Riley," I whispered. He followed my gaze, then cursed under his breath. The man didn't move, didn't wave, didn't shout. He only watched, like a predator examining prey. "Don't go outside," I said immediately. My hands trembled as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency?" "There's a man outside my house. He showed up at my Christmas party earlier, and now he's standing in my yard staring at us." "Is he armed?" "I don't know. He's not approaching, but he's watching us." The dispatcher told me an officer was en route. Minutes crawled. People didn't dance anymore. No one talked above a whisper. I checked the window again. He was gone. For 1 second, I felt relief. until someone at the rear patio whispered in terror, "He's at the back." Everyone rushed to the back room. There he was, outside the sliding glass door, staring into the house, just inches away from us, but separated by a wall of glass. His breath fogged the sliding door. He didn't knock, he didn't shout, he just watched, like he was choosing someone. "Why is he doing this?" Lena whispered, voice shaking. I didn't answer, because I had no answer. We turned off music, turned off lights, waited. The flashing lights of a patrol car finally appeared, and the second they did, the man bolted into the woods. By the time officers searched the area, he was long gone. Probably just some unstable guy. One officer said, "People crash houses around holidays hoping for food or warmth." I didn't argue, but that explanation didn't match his eyes. Most guests left in groups. Riley stayed, mainly to make sure I wasn't alone. We kept the lights on all night and didn't sleep. At dawn, we checked the yard. Footprints in the snow. Not just near the porch, not just at the patio. They circled the entire house, again and again, like he had been walking loops around us for hours. There were prints leading to every window, including my bedroom window. I felt sick. "He was checking where we sleep," Riley said softly. And that's when I noticed something else. In the fresh snow, right beneath my bedroom window, lay a small gift bag. The same one he had carried earlier. My hands shook uncontrollably as I reached for it. Inside was a Christmas card. No glitter, no cheerful art, just block letters in black ink. "You should have let me in. Next time, don't be rude on Christmas." Riley whispered, "Dude, call the cops again." I did. They took the card, the bag, photographed the footprints, told us not to panic, that it could just be a delusional drifter. I wanted to believe them, but something in my gut screamed no. I didn't cancel Christmas parties forever to numb. But things changed. I became the guy who double locks every door, installs cameras on every side of the house, never lets anyone in without knowing their full name, looks out the window before answering anything. People joke about it sometimes, but I don't laugh, because every year since around December 23rd, someone leaves something on my porch, never knocks, never rings the bell, just leaves something, a small gift bag, sometimes empty, sometimes with candy, sometimes with a Christmas note, always unsigned, always the same handwriting. Police never found him. Neighbors never saw him again. No one knows if he's homeless, unwell, or something worse. But there's one detail most people don't know, not even Riley. I checked my security cameras from last year, 2:42 a.m., December 23rd. The cameras caught a figure leaving the porch. Same height, same beard, same faded sweater. But what ruined me wasn't that. As he walked away, he whispered something, directly toward the camera with a crooked smile. "Maybe next year you'll open the door." That was last year, and Christmas is coming again. And I don't know if he's waiting for an invitation or planning something else entirely. I always used to love Christmas. Not in the cheesy Hallmark movie way, but in the small, quiet traditions kind of way. Growing up in Minnesota, Christmas meant hot cocoa after school, snowball fights in the yard, and my mom humming Bing Crosby off-key while decorating the tree. By the time I moved to Seattle at 25, I didn't have much left from childhood except those memories. Life had gotten busier, louder, colder. My mom passed, my dad moved to Arizona, and Christmas slowly became more of a nostalgic ache than a celebration. Still, the holiday spirit didn't die completely in me. I tried to hold on to pieces of it. Working retail during Christmas wasn't glamorous, but it made me feel connected to something familiar. decorations, music, people excited about gifts. So when I landed a job as floor supervisor at Harbor Lane Outfitters, a boutique-style clothing store in the Pinecrest Mall, I honestly felt lucky. December 2022 was brutal, and crowds, stress, inventory issues, 12-hour shifts, but I didn't complain. Christmas gave me a reason to get up in the morning, and then everything changed. It was a Friday, December 16th, a week before Christmas Eve. The mall was slammed. You could barely walk 2 steps without hearing Jingle Bell Rock leaking from a speaker or bumping into a frantic shopper. I was behind the counter printing labels for coats when I felt it, that weird sense that someone was watching me. When I looked up, I saw a man near the escalator. Mid-30s maybe, tall, long black parka, didn't look like a shopper, didn't hold bags, didn't browse, just stood there. And his eyes? Fixed directly on me. I glanced again because I thought maybe I misunderstood it, but no. He didn't look away. He didn't blink much either. I tried to shake it off. Customers needed help. Clothing needed folding. Shipments were late. I didn't have time for paranoia. After about 10 minutes, he walked off, and I convinced myself I imagined the whole thing. Shift change came at 6 p.m., and my co-worker, Lila, clocked in. She was the type who turned everything into a joke, which honestly helped lighten the mood. "You look tense," she said. "What's up, somebody try to fight you over a sweater again?" I half laughed. "I think some dude was staring at me earlier." "Oh, please," she smirked. "Look at you, someone finally appreciates your face. Take the dub." I rolled my eyes. It didn't feel like that. She raised her hands like, fair enough, but didn't press. And I didn't want to sound dramatic, so I dropped the subject. Around 8 p.m., when the wave of evening shoppers slowed down, I was fixing a table of flannels near the entrance. Lila was behind me checking her phone. I turned for a second and froze. He was back. This time he stood just a few feet outside the store, pretending to look at a rack of jackets we kept near the doorway. Except he wasn't actually looking at them. His head was angled toward me. My voice went thin. "There. That's him." Lila looked up. "Which one?" "Oh, damn," she whispered. "That's not normal." "No shit. What do you want to do?" "Nothing. Maybe he'll go away." But he didn't. Every time I moved to a different part of the store, he adjusted his position right outside, like he was keeping me in his line of sight. At 8:53 p.m., 7 minutes before closing, he finally walked away. I told myself it was over. At 9:10 p.m., after we finished closing, Lila grabbed her bag. "I'll walk you out," she offered. I tried not to sound scared. "It's fine, seriously." She frowned. "Don't be stubborn, that dude gave me the creeps too." "Lila, I'm parked literally right outside the rear exit. It'll take 30 seconds. She hesitated, then nodded. "Text me when you get home." I stepped out the back exit alone. The parking lot was mostly empty except for scattered cars glinting under yellow lights. A couple of snowflakes drifted down. It should have felt peaceful. It didn't. Halfway to my car, I heard footsteps. I stopped. They stopped. I turned around. Nothing. I unlocked my car and got inside, locking the doors immediately. After a few shaky breaths, I started the ignition and left. When I got home, I texted Lila, "Made it." She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. I never told her I cried in the shower that night, not because something happened, but because something almost happened. Monday shift. I hoped to never see him again. But at 5:42 p.m., while I scanned sweaters, Lila whispered behind me, Don't turn around, he's here. My stomach plummeted. Where? By the jewelry cabinet. I turned slowly, like maybe if I didn't move fast, it wouldn't be real. He was there, looking right at me. This time, he walked toward the register. I stepped back instinctively. He smiled, slow and unfamiliar. "Hi," he said. It sounded too casual, like he'd practiced it. I cleared my throat. "Can I help you find anything?" "No, I just wanted to say it's nice to finally talk to." "Busy." Lila stepped forward, voice sharp. "If you're not shopping, I need you to step aside so customers can get through." He glanced at her with annoyance, then back at me. "You get off at 9, right?" I didn't answer. He walked away but called over his shoulder without turning his head. "I'll see you then." A customer looked at me and said quietly, "You okay, honey?" I lied. "Yeah, it's fine." Mall security escorted me to my car that night. They told me, "If he approaches you again, report it and we'll issue a ban." It sounded reassuring, but bans don't stop people who don't care about rules. I barely slept. A heavy snowstorm hit, so the mall was less crowded. I hoped he wouldn't show. He didn't, at least not inside. When I clocked out at 9:03 p.m., I left with Noah, the assistant manager. We walked out together, laughing about something stupid. But as soon as I saw my windshield, the laughter died. There was a note tucked under the wiper. My name on the front, handwritten. Noah froze. "Do you want me to open it?" I shook my head and opened it myself. The note said, "You looked beautiful tonight. I hate when other people talk to you. We're closer than you think." No signature. Noah cursed. "We're going back inside now." Security checked cameras, brushed snow off the parking lot feed. And there he was, 7:52 p.m., placing the note on my car, almost 2 hours before I left work. He waited for me. Security banned him immediately and said if he returned, they'd involve police. It should have made me feel safe, but I felt hunted. We closed early that day, 6 p.m. The mall smelled like cinnamon pretzels and pine decorations. Kids ran around with balloons. Santa took photos with families. It should have felt festive. It felt like a countdown. I spent the whole day pretending, smiling at customers, ringing up sweaters, folding jeans. But inside, fear had hollowed me out. At 5:54 p.m., Lila hugged me. "Merry Christmas, girl. Now go home and relax. Watch a dumb movie. You deserve it." I nodded, but something in me felt wrong. Like if I let myself relax, I wouldn't survive the night. I left at 6:08 p.m. with a guard escort. Snow covered everything, but my car windows weren't fogged, and that told me it hadn't been sitting untouched all day. Someone had been near it. When I reached home, the unease didn't leave. I checked the door twice before locking it. I turned on every light. I tried watching a movie, but my body wouldn't settle. At 9:41 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You should have let me walk you out. I would have kept you safe. You belong with me." My hands went ice cold. I blocked the number. At 10:08 p.m., a knock on the door made me flinch so hard I dropped my phone. 3 steady knocks. I didn't move. Then a man's voice, soft, almost tender, through the door. "Open up, it's cold, it's Christmas." I covered my mouth with both hands to muffle a sob. Another knock. "I just want to talk. I've waited long enough." I dialed 911 with shaking fingers. The operator told me to stay quiet and stay on the line. I didn't dare breathe. The knocking stopped, then footsteps, then silence. Sirens got closer. Police arrived. They checked the whole property. He was gone. But one of the officers walked back to me holding something wrapped in plastic. Something they found by the back fence. A phone. His phone. My picture was set as the lock screen wallpaper, not a picture from the store, not a picture from security footage, a picture of me getting ready inside my home, taken through my living room window. After the police left, I sat on the couch and cried until I was numb. They said they'd patrol the area through the night. They told me to keep my phone close. They told me I was safe now. I wanted to believe them. At some point, exhaustion pulled me under. I woke to the faint sound of a Christmas song playing somewhere in the house. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Sleep paralysis? Dream? No. The music got louder, coming from the hallway. My entire body locked up with horror. Then I heard a whisper right behind me. I knew you'd look beautiful waking up. A hand covered my mouth before I could scream. I kicked, scratched, fought. He dragged me toward the hallway. You shouldn't have ignored me, he hissed. I loved you first. I loved you enough to wait. I reached for anything. The wall, the carpet. But he was stronger. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He talked softly, almost lovingly, while I struggled. You don't understand yet, but you will. You'll see this is better than being alone. My vision blurred. Breath stopped. As consciousness slipped away, the last thing I heard was his voice, echoing over the Christmas music. Merry Christmas, beautiful. Neighbors reported a disturbance the next morning when my door was left cracked open and the living room lights were still on, but by then, we were gone. He was never seen again. Neither was I. Christmas became a whisper in the mall, a warning spoken quietly among employees working late shifts. If someone watches you too closely, don't ignore it. Because sometimes the world is merry and bright, and sometimes someone watches from the dark waiting to make you theirs forever. I've always been the kind of guy who lets the job eat him alive for 6 days straight and then tries to decompress all at once on the 7th. Driving is my life, for work and outside of it. I'm a professional private hire driver in Denver, which means I spend most days crawling through traffic on I-25, arguing with GPS rerouting, and dealing with people who treat the passenger seat like a confession booth. By the weekend, I'm worn down, socially drained, and starving for silence. That's why I hike. I didn't start for fitness. I started because it was the only place where no one could talk to me. No ringing phone. No, can you take a left up here instead? No noise. Just trees, snow, and my thoughts. Christmas morning 2022 felt like a perfect day for that reset. I wasn't supposed to be at my parents' house in Aurora until 2 p.m. and the annual Miller family Christmas chaos was always a lot. Aunts arguing about recipes, kids running around, football blasting on TV, and someone inevitably crying over a board game. I loved them, but I needed a few hours to myself first. So I decided to hike a trail I'd saved on my phone months earlier. Red Pine Ridge, just under an hour from Denver, not super popular, especially in winter. I loaded up my backpack, water, coffee, snack bar, phone, camera, and a small emergency kit I always carry. I remember saying aloud to myself as I locked my apartment door, just a few hours, breathe, reset, then family stuff. The drive was peaceful. Frost on the windows of every house I passed. Christmas inflatables sagging in front yards. The radio playing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Streets were empty except for a few snowplows and early morning churchgoers. When I pulled into the Red Pine Ridge parking area, my sedan was the only car there. Hell yeah, I muttered with a grin. Complete solitude. The best Christmas present I could ask for. The air was razor sharp and clean, the snow untouched and glittering under the winter sun. Everything was still. The mountains, the sky, the trees, like the whole world was holding its breath. I tightened my laces, adjusted my gloves, and stepped onto the trail. The first crunch of snow under my boots echoed in the silence. For the first 30 minutes it was perfect. The forest was dense, the trail narrow, and sunlight dripped through branches heavy with snow. I kept stopping to take photos. Golden light catching ice, faint steam rising from the creek, animal tracks weaving off into the distance. My mind finally started to unclench. I was thinking about stupid stuff, like how I really needed to clean my car and whether the Broncos would ever get their shit together. When I heard it, a laugh, not big, not loud, just a quick high-pitched giggle like a child trying not to be noticed. I stopped walking instantly. The forest went still again like someone muted the world. I listened. Nothing. Just the soft whistle of wind through dry branches. I tried to brush it off. Sound carries weird out here. Probably a family further down. But the snow told a different story. It was pristine. Only my boot prints marked the trail. I kept walking, but the comfort of the morning had slipped away. I still took photos, but now I wasn't admiring the scenery. I was cataloging it, searching the edges for movement. About a quarter-mile deeper, the trail narrowed between two tall spruces, forming a natural tunnel. It was dimmer and colder there. That's when the laugh came again, clearer, closer. Like a little kid laughing into their hands to hide it. I spun around so fast I slipped a little on the snow. "Hello?" I called out, my voice tighter than I wanted it to be. Nothing. No reply. My stomach dropped. I told myself it was just nerves, maybe a bird or an echo bouncing weird off the trees. "Get a grip," I whispered under my breath. I pushed deeper, trying to outrun the anxiety. The trees started to space out and open into a clearing. At the center was a frozen pond, completely still, untouched. It looked like a postcard. I dropped my backpack and pulled out the camera. I needed, to focus on something beautiful. I raised the lens, found the perfect frame, and just as I hit the shutter, the laugh ripped through the clearing. Not faint, not playful, sharp, deliberate, like someone mocking me. I spun around, heart punching inside my ribs. "Okay, seriously, who's out there?" I shouted. Silence again, too sudden, too complete. I scanned the tree line, and for a split second, just one impossible second, I saw something move between the trees on the far side of the pond, fast, wrong, a shadow that didn't match the shape of a person. Ice ran across my skin. I grabbed my backpack. That's when another sound came, not a laugh this time. But not on the trail, on the snow, but leaving no prints. I didn't think. I just ran. The trail back felt different and stretched somehow, like it had doubled in length. And the laughter came again and again and again. Sometimes ahead of me, sometimes behind me, sometimes right next to my ear, like someone leaning in to mock me. I didn't look back. I refused to look back. By the time the parking lot came into view, my lungs were burning and my hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys twice. My sedan was still the only vehicle there. I slammed inside and locked the doors immediately. I sat there panting, staring at the tree line. Just as I shoved the key into the ignition, I saw it again. A dark figure slipping between the trees, wrong height, wrong shape, not walking, almost gliding. That was all I saw before I floored it out of the lot. I didn't breathe normally until I hit the main road. And that should have been the end of it. I should have gone home, erased the trail from my phone and never looked back. But when I finally got home and pulled the SD card from the camera to look at the photos, something was there. Not obvious, not screaming for attention, but on the edge of frame, in multiple pictures, something dark was standing far back in the trees. It wasn't there when I took them. I would have seen it, and in the final photo, the one of the frozen pond, there was something reflected in the ice, a face, smiling. I never thought Christmas Eve would be the night I'd learn what real fear feels like. I was supposed to be at my sister's place in Boise, surrounded by family, laughter, and the same messy traditions we repeated every year. But this Christmas I wasn't in the mood. Things had been rocky between me and my mom ever since Thanksgiving, and when we argued again over the phone that morning, over something stupid as usual, I snapped and told her I wasn't coming. She said, "Fine, do whatever you want." And I did. I stayed in my small rental house on Pine Ridge Drive, planning to enjoy the peace I'd been craving for months. The snowstorm outside rattled the windows and blanketed the street, but inside I had the soft glow of the Christmas tree, a mug of peppermint hot cocoa, and a stack of cheesy holiday movies. For the first time in a long time, I felt like the world wasn't demanding anything from me. I curled up under my fleece blanket, trying not to think about family drama. Work had been killing me. My relationship had recently ended, and honestly, Christmas cheer just felt exhausting. For once, being alone wasn't loneliness, it was relief. Around 10:07 p.m., I paused the movie to answer a text from my younger cousin. "You sure you're not coming?" I stared at the message for a long time before replying, "Yeah, I'm good. Just taking time for myself tonight." I could practically hear the disappointment through the screen, but I told myself I needed this. By 11:50 p.m., I was halfway through my second movie, drifting towards sleep. The only light in the house came from the TV and the tree, not the kind of glow that makes everything feel soft and safe. Then came a knock, a single sharp bang, bang, bang that jolted me upright. I froze, the blanket halfway off me. Nobody should have been outside, not in that snowstorm, not at midnight. "Probably a neighbor," I muttered to myself, though my voice sounded shaky even to me. I set my mug down, walked to the front door, and peeked through the peephole. That's when I saw him. A man dressed head to toe in a Santa suit, not the fluffy mall Santa kind, but a cheap one. The coat sagged unevenly, the belt hung too loose, and the fake beard sat crooked across his jaw. Wet snow clung to his boots. He wasn't smiling, just standing there. His head was tilted slightly as if waiting for me to speak. Every instinct in me whispered that something was wrong. I swallowed, trying to keep my voice calm through the door. "Can I help you?" The man stepped closer. His gloved hand brushed the doorframe. "It's Santa," he said in a voice too soft to match his expression. "I'm here to deliver your gifts." My skin crawled. "You've got the wrong house," I answered firmly. He almost laughed. Not loud, not cheerful. Just a quiet breath of amusement. "No," he said, "this is the right house." Something in the way he said right made my heart trip in my chest. I backed away from the door. Seconds passed. Then bang, bang, bang. Louder. I looked again through the peephole and nearly jumped. He was staring directly into it, like he somehow knew exactly where my eye would be, his face inches away. His beard had shifted, exposing cracked lips twisted into something between a grin and a sneer. "Let me in," he whispered. Panic shot through me. I snapped the deadbolt shut and backed up until my spine hit the wall. Silence. I forced myself to breathe, forced myself to listen. Maybe he would leave. Maybe it was a prank, maybe. From the living room window, I peeked. Outside, the porch was empty. He was gone. The street was a blur of swirling snow. No cars, no footsteps I could see. The storm erased everything too fast. I tried to convince myself it was over. I checked every lock twice, then crawled back to the couch. But I didn't play the movie again. I just sat there staring at the dark TV screen, listening to my heartbeat pound in my ears. Around 1:12 a.m. I heard it, a scraping sound along the side of the house, like metal dragging against siding. Slow, deliberate. My breath caught. I muted the TV, even though it had been silent already, and held still. Then came another sound, crunching in the snow. Footsteps, slow ones. They were behind the house. I crept toward the kitchen, every instinct screaming not to, but I had to know. I crouched near the window and gently pushed the curtain just 1 inch aside. He was there. The man in the Santa suit stood in my backyard, motionless, staring at the house like he was reading my thoughts. His fake beard hung even lower, and the wind pushed snow around him, but he didn't move. He didn't shiver. He didn't blink. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stop the sound that crawled up my throat. Then he turned, sharply, like he heard me breathe. Footsteps followed slowly, circling back toward the front door. 3 knocks, not frantic, confident. "Let me in," he said again, the same strange calmness in his voice. I grabbed a kitchen knife, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. "Go away," I screamed. "I'm calling the cops." Silence. Then the front door rattled violently, like someone yanking it with both hands. Then the back door, then the side window. He was checking the entire house, every entry, one by one. I ran to the living room, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man trying to get into my house, I whispered, collapsing to the floor. I gave the address, my voice tangled in panic. Stay on the line with me. Officers are on the way. Do not engage him. I heard footsteps on the porch again. The voice outside changed, louder, angrier. I said, "Let me in." He pounded so hard the wreath on the door fell to the ground. Then it stopped. Nothing. Not a sound. The dispatcher spoke softly through the phone. "You're doing great. Officers are almost there. Stay where you are. Do not open any door." I didn't move. I sat against the wall, clutching the knife so tightly my fingers hurt. Minutes crawled by like hours. Then through the window, flashing lights appeared, red and blue flooding across the snow. I burst into tears. A police officer knocked and announced himself. They swept the property, checked the whole block, even went door to door asking if anyone else saw him. They found footprints circling the house, leading toward the tree line behind the yard, then disappearing into the woods. No one else had seen him. One officer said, "You did the right thing calling us right away. Trust your instincts." Another added, "Storm like this, whoever it was couldn't have gotten far." But I didn't feel relieved, because when I walked them to the back door to show where I'd seen him through the window, I noticed something in the snow that almost made me collapse. Footprints. But not just footprints, knee marks. He had been kneeling directly below the kitchen window, watching me. For how long? I didn't want to think about. The police stayed outside until I packed a bag. I didn't even bother turning off the Christmas tree. I got in my car and drove straight to my parents' house in the early hours of Christmas morning. My mom opened the door before I even knocked, eyes puffy like she'd been crying too. She didn't ask why I came. She just pulled me into a hug and whispered her breathe calmly. "I'm glad like she had just been released." And I held on like I was afraid to let go. Then something hit the back of my head. That was last Christmas. I woke up lying I still have the cold floor. I still have the bag over my head. But I don't stay home alone on Christmas anymore. I tried screaming, but duct tape covered my mouth. Crunching in the snow outside, I heard someone dragging something metallic, maybe chains. My blood turns to ice, but there was no more. I still don't know who that man was. I had already chosen. I still don't know how he knew my name. I wasn't expecting to survive. Because when I replay that night, I keep remembering something. I was too scared to register from somewhere above. Boots stomping, doors slamming, before the people shouting, "Federal agents, get down!" Hands grabbed me, cut the ties, ripped the bag off. Window, flashlights, tactical vest. I'll come back next year. Someone yelled, "I pray he was lying." "We found a live one." But every Christmas Eve, everything blurry, I barely sleep. While medics carried me out, I asked with the last breath I had, "The girl? Did you find the girl?" A female agent leaned close. "We found multiple survivors. We'll identify them soon." I blacked out. I woke up days later in the hospital. The FBI interviewed me, but I didn't have answers they could use. The people behind the network vanished before the raid. Servers wiped, cameras burned, identities erased. They called it one of the most sophisticated trafficking and psychological manipulation operations in the country. But the girl, I asked every single day. Finally, one morning, a doctor entered with a clipboard and a guarded expression. "Someone came to see you," he said. My heart stopped. She walked in, thinner than I imagined, bruised, haunted, but alive, wearing hospital clothes, her eyes filled with tears. "You heard me," she said. I nodded, shaking. Every night, she sat beside me, holding my hand. We cried without talking because trauma teaches its own language. But before she left, she whispered, "He's still out there. He won't stop until he finds a new connection." I froze. "What was his real name?" I asked. She shook her head slowly. "No, it's not a name, it's a title. Whoever becomes the next watcher becomes him." My blood turned cold. "So, someone new runs it now?" She nodded. "Someone who knows how to access what you accessed. Someone who knows how to find people who dream." My throat dried. "Who?" The girl looked at me with deep dread. "You already know." I didn't understand until the nurse told me who checked himself out of the hospital minutes earlier. Ryan. I was released 2 weeks later. The girl was relocated under a new identity. The FBI promised protection, but promises don't mean much anymore. I moved to a small studio apartment, trying to live quietly. I threw out every computer I had. No internet, no phone, no screens, no nothing. But 2 nights ago, I woke up from a dream. Same room, same crying, same voice, but not her. A new girl, begging for help. And right before I woke up, someone whispered in the dark, "God has nothing to do with this. You're mine." But this time, it wasn't the old voice. It was Ryan's. I don't know how long I have before the connection completes. I don't know if running will help. I don't know what I'll choose when the time comes. All I know is this. Some nightmares aren't dreams. They're invitations, and once you answer, you never wake up.